Donald Trump has finally called out Tucker, Megyn, and Candace, and I cannot be happier. All that and more coming up next on The Nathan Hale Show. All right, folks. Well, it has been a wild past week or so. But today is Friday, April 10th, 2026, and we have got a lot to cover. Starting right off the bat, we have got to talk about Donald Trump's truth, his post. What do we call a post on Truth Social, guys? What is it? Is it truth? Is it a post? I don't understand. Did he truth something? Like we said, we tweeted something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, folks. I don't understand the whole internet lingo with a lot of these things. Either way, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social just the other day, finally taking a stance on what's going on with the grifter podcast community that has really intensified after the death of Charlie Kirk. I really feel like Charlie Kirk was the dam holding back all the craziness from flooding in to right-wing politics. And before I read this, I want to make something clear. Folks. You know, this is what's happening on the internet. This is what is happening in the media. And what happens in the media and the internet is not real life. So, you know, it is my firm belief that there's a lot of people who listen to people like Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly, even Candace Owens, for example, who either might not totally agree with what they say in a lot of things or really don't understand what the grift is happening. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. But I don't believe that these views that you're hearing from the Nick Fuentes types and the Tucker Carlson types and so on, right, is what is reflected within the greater public as a whole, at least not by voters in America, that's for sure. I mean, that'll... we'll really see how that goes in 2026, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But I really don't feel that their brand of republicanism, if we can even call it that, is reflected in the voters as a whole. You know, that's why I appreciate doing this show, and I think that's why a lot of people like you guys enjoy listening to me, because I'm a normal guy, right? I'm not getting paid to do this. These are my opinions. I'm just a regular voter here in America talking about what the issues are right now. So, you know, let's talk about this. So Donald Trump truthed. He truthed on his platform. He said, I know why Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Alex Jones have been fighting me for years, especially by the fact that they think it is wonderful for Iran, the #1 state-sponsored terror, to have a nuclear weapon, because they have one thing in common: low IQs. They're stupid people. They know it. Their families know it, and everyone else knows it too. Look at their past. Look at their record. They don't have what it takes. They never did. They have been thrown off television, lost their shows, and aren't even invited on TV because nobody cares about them. They're nutjobs, troublemakers, and will say anything necessary for some free and cheap publicity. Now they think they get some clicks because they have third-rate podcasts, but nobody's talking about them, and their views are the opposite of MAGA, or I wouldn't have won the presidential election in a landslide. MAGA agrees with me and just gave CNN a 100% approval rating of Trump. Not hard-failing fools like Tucker Carlson, who couldn't even finish college. He was a broken man when he got fired from Fox, and he's never been the same. Perhaps he should see a good psychiatrist. Or Megyn Kelly, who nastily asked me the now famous only Rosie O'Donnell question, or crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man when she's not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. In fact, it's not even close. Or bankrupt Alex Jones, who says some of the dumbest things and lost his entire fortune, as he should have, for the horrendous attack on the families of the Sandy Hook shooting victims, ridiculously claiming it was a hoax. These so-called pundits are losers, and they always will be. Now, fake news CNN, the failing New York Times, and all of the other radical left news organizations are hailing them and giving them positive press for the first time in their lives. They're not MAGA, they're losers, just trying to latch on to MAGA. As president, I could get them on my side anytime I want to, but when they call, I don't return their calls because I'm too busy on world and country affairs, and after a few times, they go nasty, just like Marjorie Trader Brown, But I no longer care about that stuff. I only care about doing what's right for our country. MAGA is about winning and strength and not allowing Iran to have nuclear weapons. MAGA is about making America great again, and these people have no idea how to do it, how to do that. But I do, because the United States is now the hottest country anywhere in the world. President Donald J. Trump. Now, I'll be honest with you folks. I mostly agree with the president on this. Do I agree with Donald Trump on every single thing that he does or every single policy position he has? No. But I generally have liked how his administration has gone over the past year. I generally haven't had all that many issues about it. When it comes to the war in Iran, I trust the president to do what's right for America. As far as his foreign policy goes, Trump has actually had pretty good foreign policy. I really do believe that Donald Trump, if his administration is remembered for one or two things, it'll be his foreign policy and it will be his Supreme Court picks. I really think those will be the lasting impacts of Donald Trump on America. I don't really think people are going to remember everything that had to do with his illegal immigration, deportations, all that. I don't think that people are going to remember his tariffs or his economy or anything. I don't think people really remember that. But I think people really remember the Trump Supreme Court and his foreign policy. Because I really do believe it's top-notch, both of those things. I'm not a foreign policy expert. I kind of stay out of it because it's not really my thing to get into. But I trust the president on these things because it's tended to work out for him in the long run. Anyways, we're getting off topic. So we got to talk about let's dissect, what was even said here? What was he even really saying, right? So if you have been living under a rock for the past, I don't know, year or so, essentially one podcaster after another has, in my opinion, been losing the clicks. They've been losing the special sauce that gets people interested in them. So they've had to stir the pot a little bit to get back into the viewership of a lot of people out there. So they've been having some questionable interviews. They've been saying some even more questionable things on their shows. They've been overall doing things that I can't say that I agree with at all. I mean, let's take Tucker Carlson, for example. Tucker Carlson had a so-called historian on his podcast who alleged that Winston Churchill was the true terrorist of World War II, that he was the true evil of World War II, not Hitler, not the Nazis, but Winston Churchill, the man who ended World War II effectively, the man who was fighting tooth and nail to win that war, the man who was leading a country that by all accounts was going to absolutely fall to the Nazis if not for a strong leader like him. We're going to call him the villain in all this. I just can't possibly get behind that. I heard that. I'm like, I can't trust anything that Tucker Carlson says anymore. If he's going to have people like this coming on his show and alleging things like this, then he goes on and has Nick Fuentes on his show, which you already know my opinion of Nick Fuentes. I don't think that we should be platforming people who spew absolutely racist BS like Nick Fuentes. I don't think that's someone who we should be platforming our shows, who we should be giving a wider audience at all. I don't think that's anyone we should even really be acknowledging it. Of course, we're doing it right now because we have to talk about it. But I don't think it's someone who deserves to receive any more reach than he is already getting on his own, right? So, and then, people ask Tucker about stuff like this, and he says, well, go have your own podcast, right? If you want to ask these questions to them, go have your own podcast and invite them on. But here's the thing. We all don't have our own podcast, right? I can't just go and invite someone like Nick Fuentes to come on to my show and ask him questions that I would like. That's why I rely on people like Tucker Carlson to go and ask those questions to people who he interviews on his show. Because not everyone is Tucker Carlson. Not everyone can go and get the guests that he has on his show to come and ask them. I rely on journalists to ask the questions that I can't, right? I'm just a citizen. I'm just a normal person. I rely on the media to do that job for me and to ask the questions that I can't to those people, right? So when you're a journalist, when you have a show, when you're inviting people on, you have a duty to your audience to ask them the questions that you believe need to be asked of them. You have a duty to your audience to be truthful with them and to uncover the lies or pressure people or push them a little bit take a stance on things. But we already know that Tucker Carlson's obsessed with the Middle East. What do we call him? Qatar Carlson? Is that what his nickname is now? So, I think we've covered Tucker Carlson. And then, of course, we have Candace Owens. It was called out in this exact post. Candace Owens has been alleging for months that the First Lady of France is a man, which, here's the thing, folks. I'm not going to sit here and try and argue with you that the First Lady of France is a man or not. Frankly, of all the things Candace Owens has said, that might be the most truthful. And that's saying something, right? I can kind of see where she's coming from a little bit. But here's the real thing. Here's the real thing, folks. Does it matter? It really doesn't matter if the First Lady of France is a man or not. I think the bigger story is that the First Lady of France is kind of a pedophile. She started dating the current president of France when he was still like a literal child in school. Wasn't she like a school teacher or something at the school that he went to? I thought it was something like that. I think she's at least like 10 or 15 years older than him, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the story there is that she's a pedophile. Not that she's a man or a woman or whatever, right? The story there is that she's a pedophile, right? Or at least she's questionable in her sexual acts. That's the bigger story. Either way, does it really matter, right? It really doesn't, folks. It does not matter if the First Lady of France is a transvestite or not. The First Lady of France has no influence on American politics. The First Lady of France is not an elected member of our body at all. If you are someone who's in the media, someone who's a personality, you have a duty to report on stories that are affecting the people who are watching your show, or at least things that are interesting. I don't think that doing a 27 segment piece on the genitalia of the First Lady of France is at all beneficial to the audience watching. I think we all got a little stupider having to listen to that. If you want to allege, you want to do an episode and talk about how you think that the First Lady of France might be a man, go for it. But I mean, we've been talking about this for like a long time now. I think the biggest implication of what Candace Owens might be doing is we might finally get a groundbreaking case on what actually a woman is in the courtroom. So we'll see about that. But either way, it's just like, why are we talking about this? There's so many other stories out there that need to be talked about, that we need to be bringing to the front line. There's so many bigger issues in the world that need attention given to them, other than what's going on down below the towel line with Emmanuel Macron's wife. So there's that. And then you have Candace Owens. We already talked about Candace Owens. Then we have Megyn Kelly. I don't know what's happened to Megyn Kelly, guys. I really don't. I have no idea what's happened to Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly started to fall off the face of the earth when she started getting wrapped up with Candace Owens and somehow like negotiating a peace deal between Candace and Erica Kirk when all that was going on, right? Which, has it really stopped? Did the peace deal do anything? Because I thought we were told that Megyn Kelly set up this whole conversation for Candace Owens and Eric Kirk to talk, and they came to an agreement, and then the next day, Candace Owens is going out spewing the same BS that she was before. That was my understanding. That's why I thought it happened. But this leads to the point of that these people would love you to believe that they are MAGA, that they are the true Republicans, that we're all the crazy ones. We're not the ones in the right here. They're the ones we need to listen to them. The only person who is true MAGA is Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump invented MAGA. Whatever he says MAGA is, that's what it is. He is the head of MAGA. He gets to say what MAGA is, right? We as Republicans can kind of direct our party as a whole, but if you want to talk about what MAGA is, you gotta ask the man who invented it, right? We're not the ones to decide where MAGA goes. It's Donald Trump. And MAGA is a populist movement, right? MAGA is this beautiful movement that has encapsulated people of all walks of life under it, all sexualities, all skin colors, all types of people, men and women, all under one roof, to elect a president who is doing more for the American people than I've seen a president do in my lifetime. That includes his first term, by the way. So, if you want to ask what MAGA is, you gotta go and ask the president. And of course, do we even have to talk about Alex Jones on this show? We already know that Alex Jones is a nutbag. We don't even need to talk about him. Same thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. But either way, I'm glad that the president finally said something about this, because it's not going to stop. It's not going to get reined in until the president says something about it. That's really the truth about it. And you might say, well, is it really the president's job to intervene in matters like this? That's definitely debatable. I'm not really sure that it is, but in terms of actually doing something, this is the best thing that you're going to get to actually do something about the absolute terrorism happening on these people's podcasts to their listeners. I'm sorry. If you are someone who is still listening to Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, I can give you a little pass on Megyn Kelly. But she's kind of newer. I mean, I think that we're getting into the gray zone of Megyn Kelly, at least to where it's like questionable if you're still listening to her and trusting her opinions on stuff. But certainly, I'm not afraid to say that if you listen to Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, you are getting stupider every time you hear them. It's just the truth. You are. I'd like to see a study done on this. I'm sure that you lose exactly 1 or 2 brain cells every time you listen to these people. It's got to be something like that, right? Your brain is literally shrinking in size. It's getting all it hates it, right? It's like giving it sugar, right? That's all these people are turning into, is giving it sugar and becoming just so anti-war. And here's the thing: MAGA was never an anti-war movement. MAGA was an anti-forever war movement, but MAGA has always been a directed military action movement that we're not going to go and intervene unless it's absolutely necessary. And I agree with the president. Stopping Iran from having nukes is absolutely necessary. We can't let them do it. And it's turned so many people off to the president. Well, we have to sit back and wait and watch and see what happens, right? We can never really know what's going to happen when a conflict occurs until after it's over. Hindsight's always 20/20. We're living in the middle of it right now. We're not really going to know how this all went for another 10 years probably, right? It's going to be a long time until we can accurately look back and say, okay, there's been 1 or 2 presidents now. How is this thing played out? Was this smart for the president to do? And I firmly believe that we'll look back in 10 years and say, my God, he was right. It's a good thing he intervened. Otherwise, Iran would have gotten nukes. That means that 100 other countries would have gotten nukes. That would have meant that bombs would be facing everyone right now, right? So, either way, glad to see the president intervening, finally saying what we've all been saying on the inside. And, I've been seeing people, I saw Candace Owens' tweet that she was talking about this, and she was basically calling everything that Trump said false. But here's the thing: where's the lie in all this? Can someone honestly tell me where the lie is in what he wrote in this? Where's the lie at? This is all true. This is all totally true. Anyways, so let's go and move on. We gotta talk about some elections, folks, because they're coming right up on us. We're getting into primary seasons, folks. It's happening. We're living in it right now. We gotta talk about elections. And before we talk about 2026, we gotta talk about 2028. Because Kamala Harris, folks, she's making her comeback. She wants to try breaking that glass ceiling again, or at least she hasn't ruled out breaking that glass ceiling, folks. So she really wants to. So I don't know what it is with the Democrats and always wanting to rerun female candidates after they've already lost an election. They did it with Hillary Clinton. Now they're trying to do it with Kamala Harris. If I had a nickel for every time the Democrats try to rerun a female candidate who lost to a Republican, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Right? So Kamala Harris, she did an interview with Al Sharpton, and where she blasted Donald Trump. She called him a liar. And she said, I might not. So former Vice President Kamala Harris on Friday, she teased her plan for 2028 in an interview with Reverend Al Sharpton. Which, by the way, who's still listening to Al Sharpton? Al Sharpton is such a shriveled up old man. I don't know who's even giving him the time of day anymore, honestly. If you are respecting the opinion of Al Sharpton, I question your judgment. I think we should take your license away. You are far too old to be driving the road if you still respect Al Sharpton. So she said, quote, I'm thinking about it, the Democrat replied when Sharpton asked her if she was going to run for president again. The room burst into applause at her response. I'll keep you posted, Harris added. Oh my gosh, right? Let's clap her. She's thinking about running, guys. Oh my god. We gotta have a round of applause here, folks. She's thinking about running. She hasn't ruled it out. This just in, I also have not ruled out running in 2028, by the way. I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. I know I won't be old enough, but I'm putting the age issue aside. I actually think that the age requirement for the presidency is a little bit of ageism there. I think that anyone should be able to run, including a turtle. And I'm thinking about running in 2020. I haven't ruled it out. I just want to put it. You're hearing it here first on the Nathan Hale Show. Nathan Hale has not ruled out if he is going to run in 2028. Just like Kamala Harris. We're in the same boat, guys. So the crowd favored Harris, the nation's first black vice president. Also, by the way, I think she's, you know what I think? I think she's going to go back to Indian. This is my call. If she runs in 2028, I think she's going to go from black to Indian. I think she's going to make a full circle back to Indian. She's going to start calling herself the first Indian president. First Indian president, first female president, right? Or she's going to go and say first black female Indian president, something like that. I think she's going to go back to the Indian. Or remember that she was Indian for a while and then she became black because it was more expedient. Now I think she's going to go back to the Indian. So we'll see in 2028. I'm calling you here first. I think she's going to go back to the Indian. So the audience burst into applause. And those in the room shouted repeatedly, "Run again! Run again! You did so good the first time! Run again, Kamala! You did so good! You did so good, Kamala! Run again!" So Harris just smiled in response, but played coy on her future plans. Of course she did. She just smile and nod, guys. Not a thought going on up here. Lights on, nobody's home. No, look at that soulless body behind those eyes. Nothing's going on up here. It's not happening. So Harris was fired up in her appearance, kicking things off by attacking Trump for both his domestic and foreign policy. She called him a liar who misled the American people in the 2024 election about affordability. The cost of living was a top issue in the last election and remains one going into the November midterms. The Trump administration points out it has brought down the cost of living by making housing more affordable and cutting prescription drug prices. Trump also argues the uptick in gas prices is a temporary side effect of the war in Iran and will soon reverse. I saw someone make a video where they said that the price of gas now is just slightly higher than the Biden administration's overall average price of gas for the 4 years Joe Biden was president. I saw someone say, I don't know if this is true or not, I have to go and look it up, but I saw someone say that it was slightly higher than the 4-year average under Joe Biden. That it's just slightly higher than that right now, right? Which, crazy if true. So anyways, like I said, I don't know why the Democrats are so obsessed with this broad. They pulled her out of nowhere. I just want to remind everyone, we could have had Tulsi Gabbard as president. Had the Democrats not gone full woke in 2020, we could have had President Tulsi Gabbard, the only woman right now who I believe actually has a genuine shot at becoming president at some point. We could have had her as president. She probably would have been a good president too. I would have voted for her. If I could have voted at the time, I would have voted for her. I wasn't old enough in 2020, crazy enough. But they went full woke and chose to go with Kamala Harris instead. They pulled her out of California, the most radical left-wing senator in the entire country from California. Kamala Harris sucked her way to the top, blew her way to the top, as we should say. And now they're wanting to run her again. Well, here's what I have to say to the Democrats. I dare you. Run her again. I dare you to run her again. Do the exact same campaign you had before. You guys did so good the first time, right? That's why she's running again. She did fantastic the first time. She'll do even more fantastic this time. I dare you to run her again. I dare you to. I gotta say, it's going to be a really an interesting mashup if Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom are in the primaries together. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can almost guarantee the Democrats, they're going to vote for Gavin Newsom because they recognize that he's a better candidate than Kamala Harris ever is or ever will be. But it's going to make for great content because if the Democrats decide to nominate a white straight male for the presidency over a black Indian female, like whatever she is, right? Whatever diverse mashup she is, it's going to make for great content because the Democrats are so obsessed with race, right? They're so obsessed with race, and they're always talking about how white men are getting ahead, and then they themselves are going to vote for a white man over Kamala Harris. The stories just write themselves, folks. So it'll make for great content either way, and then we're going to have to meet our own impending doom when we have to deal with Gavin Newsom in the contest. But we'll see about that. 2020, it's still a long way though. Let's talk about 2026. So I pulled up some of the polling for 2026, and now I guess I shouldn't say polling. I guess I should say betting odds. Honestly, folks, I don't care what the polls say anymore that are being done. I only look at the betting odds. I care what I feel that the betting odds. I get a stronger pulse on what is happening in the world with the betting odds over what is happening in the polls. So this is a poll from, I believe this is Kalshi. So there's 4 lines on this chart. That top purple line is Democrat House, Republican Senate. The blue line is Democrat House, Democrat Senate. The red line is Republican House, Republican Senate. And the purple line at the bottom is Republican House, Democrat Senate. So this is all for the possibilities that could occur in 2026. And right now, Democrat House, Democrat Senate is leading 52% of people who voted on this, which, by the way, there's $2.3 million in this poll right now riding on this. $2.3 million of people putting their money where their mouth is. They are believing that the Democrats are going to get a full-out sweep and fully win over the House and the Senate, which would be very scary, I must say, as someone who's a Republican, because what will happen if Democrats achieve that? It'll be impeachment central. They might even get so far as to be able to convict Donald Trump and remove him from office. That's what they're wanting to do. That's what the No Kings protesters are chanting about constantly. Convict and remove, right? 86-47. So I think that's a scary thought. You know, if I had to put money down on this, I think that Republicans will lose the House. They will keep the Senate, though. I don't think Republicans will lose the Senate. I think they will keep it by at least a tiebreaker vote with J.D. Vance. I could be wrong, but right now I would be in the 38% of people feeling that it's going to be Democrat House, Republican Senate. So this is the Kalshi poll. And as you can see, for quite a while, that was what it was all the way back into December, January, February. It really end of February, early March, those two flipped, and there were some big increases in what people thought was going to happen and what was going to change to. So right now, 52% of people are feeling that Democrat House, Democrat Senate. So there's our Kalshi poll. This is a poll from, oh gosh, the other big polling company. It's linked in the description down below, folks. I don't remember what it is, but this is the other betting market. That's Kalshi and oh gosh, what's it called? I almost feel like I have to look now. I almost feel like I gotta let you know what's going on. Polymarket, that's it. Polymarket. This is from Polymarket. So another 54% of Democrats take the Senate. What was it for Kalshi? Was it the same for Kalshi? 52% say House and Senate. Polymarket say 54. So about the same, honestly. It's about the same. So looking at 87% chance Democrats take the House according to Polymarket as well. So they're saying that their polling is showing that Republicans will go down to 197 seats. Democrats will get 238. It's quite a big difference, I must say. What was that? 38, 38, 39, 44, 41 seats, a 41 seat majority. That's a pretty healthy majority, I must say, in the Democrats. As we know with the Democrats, they fall in line. They don't break ranks like we do in the Republican Party, right? They don't break ranks over there. So it's a pretty healthy majority, even if one or two defect. So, what does this mean? What does this mean for America? Well, what it means for America is that Donald Trump has effectively, let's see, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. He effectively has 8 months to finish his agenda. That's basically what this is telling me. Because you all know, once Democrats take at least one of the chambers of Congress, everything is going to come to a standstill. No major piece of legislation are going to pass. You can kiss the SAVE Act goodbye. It's out of here. See, it's not going to happen. No voter ID. We're not going to see that. Funding for deportations is going to go bye-bye. It's going to go away. The Democrats are going to start introducing articles of impeachment left, right, and center. Al Green, I'm sure, is loving all of this. He can't wait. He's on the edge of his seat to start impeaching the guy again, right? Al Green, #1 fan of impeachment in America right now. So that's what's going to happen. This is the reality that we are living in right now, folks. And this is why it is so important that we stay together, we stay as one, right? This is truly why what Trump was saying earlier that we covered at the beginning of the show is so important, in that we got to stop listening to these crazy podcasters. They don't know what they're talking about. We got to stop listening to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly types, right? They're scaring everyone away from voting. They're turning the moderates off of voting for Republicans. Here's the thing, folks. I don't like what the Republicans are doing. I do not like what they're doing for a variety of different things. But overall, I believe that they are the less of two evils. The lesser of two evils. Right? I believe that our country is better off being run by the Republican Party over the Democrat Party. That's how I feel in general, right? I firmly believe that the worst Republicans are still better than the best Democrats. And you might call me crazy for saying that, but that's how I am. I'm a born and raised Republican here, folks. I can't ever see myself voting for a Democrat. I would vote no party. I would not vote at all before I would vote for a Democrat, right? So it's scary to see that the agenda that we voted for is coming to a halt. And here's the thing. What I have seen with Republicans is they get very worried very quickly when it comes to certain issues in America. They freak out a little bit. They basically turn against the grain, right? When you just need to wait it out, right? We don't know how this is going to go. So, we're not really going to know how election night will go until election night happens, and we'll be covering it here on this show. Hopefully, we'll do a live stream. We'll see. Try and get some people I know to do a live stream. We'll see about that. But it's going to be interesting to see. So, I hope to see Trump getting out there and campaigning a little bit. I want to send JD out, right? I know that we're not the biggest fan of JD Vance in the show, but let me tell you, he can rile up a crowd, and he's a good speaker. Start sending him out there with these people, right? What's he doing? He's on the sidelines right now. The vice president doesn't do diddly squat, right? As we all know, they just kind of sit there and wait for the president to die, right? We don't want the president to die. But that's basically what the vice president's job is. Send him out there. Start getting him campaigning and everything, right? Congress isn't doing anything right now. I was seeing photos of members of Congress going on vacation and everything. Well, they haven't met in Congress. It's an election year, guys. You guys should be out campaigning. You guys should not be going on vacation right now. This is prime time to be going out and campaigning and going into your district and talking about all the great things that Republicans have delivered on, such as no tax on tips, such as putting more money in your pocket, such as cutting taxes as a whole, such as bringing more money into the Fed, right? This is a great time to talk about all those things. You know, getting all the illegals out of our country, shutting down our southern border. Yeah, we could go on and on and on and on and on, right? There's been a lot of solid wins from the Trump administration in this past year, and they need to get out and talking about these things, right? You don't wait until the last minute to be talking about this. This is the reality that we're facing. This is the scary reality that we're facing. Because here's the thing, folks. If the Democrats take the Senate, it is far worse for Republicans in the long term. Because now all of a sudden they have the conviction power for impeachment. Now all of a sudden, if a Supreme Court justice retires, we're going to have to deal with them again to get a new justice on board, right? It's going to be Brett Kavanaugh all over again. They're going to pull out all the stops, right? It's going to be an absolute disaster. Nothing's going to get done, right? Because if Democrats try and pass anything that Republicans don't want, Trump will just veto it. And Democrats won't allow anything to get done that Republicans want if it's at all controversial. So it's I can see the impending doom coming towards us, and I can tell you what, it's not my fault. I take no responsibility for this whatsoever. I don't. I take no responsibility. I'm going to get out. I'm going to vote in this election. I'm going to vote for my Republican congressman. I'm going to vote for my Republican senator. I'm going to vote for Republicans down the ticket. This is not my fault this is happening. The only people that have to blame for what's happening right now, frankly, are the Republicans for sitting on their hands with a lot of these major pieces of legislation and letting themselves get all broken up with the small minutia of what has been happening in Congress and what's been happening in our country, right? I envy the Democrats for being able to stand as united as they do, no matter what happens. I envy that. I wish that Republicans could learn a thing about that. And I hope that Democrats taking the Senate does not become a reality. That's truly what I hope. I can live with them taking the House. I don't want to see it. I'd be sad to see it. But I can live with them in the House. If they take my Senate, I'm going to be pissed. So that's all we got to cover for today's episode, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back here next week once again with you all. Let me know what you think about the whole Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson situation. Tweet at me. Let me know what you think. If there's stories or topics you want me to cover on this show, let me know also. Tweet at me. Tell me what you think. I'll look through those and see what we can cover for next week. If there's an opinion that I haven't talked about on this show yet, let me know. I'll give you an answer. Make sure to follow me on all the social media platforms. They're all linked in the description down below. And I will see you, I guess, next Friday. So with that, have a great weekend. Enjoy the time off. Take some time off the internet, folks. Take your weekend off. I think that more people will be a lot happier if on the weekends y'all clocked off, right? I mostly clock off for the most part on Saturdays and Sundays. Y'all should do the same. Take my advice. Your life will be so much happier if you stay off the internet for a day or two. But with that, I've been Nathan Hale. This has been the Nathan Hale Show. We will see you back here again next week, next Friday, same time, same place. Stay tuned. Peace out. Bye.